Welcome, everybody. This is the Graybeard Podcast. I am Jim. I am the man with the gray beard. I'm running solo tonight. I wanted to have a solo show. You know, sometimes I do this just to clear my thoughts. Nothing special, nothing fancy, no guests, no producer, just me. Sometimes I like to take control of the helm, as it were. Always have the coffee. It's actually tea this evening. I make a killer tea. I put my tea up against Publix tea. And if you live in Florida and know what Publix is, then you know what the hell I'm talking about. But I put mine against Publix any day of the week, and it'll knock them flat. Okay. So anyways, this is going to be kind of a jam session. Just me. Let me open up my... Hold on. I forgot to open my chat. Hopefully it doesn't make me log in. Okay. I'm going to move the chat in front of me so I can see it and I don't have to turn my fucking head because I really don't want to see that. Okay, every now and again, I like to do these just to kind of calibrate and reintroduce myself to you and to those people that are new. But to the people that have been here and watching and hanging out with me for a while, I just want to say thank you again from the bottom of my heart. You make my podcast existence a happy one. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you to all of my guests that I've had on in the past, starting from the very beginning. It's just been a wild ride. And if you don't know, we do have, here on this YouTube channel. So, go follow us, subscribe to us, go back and watch. I've got, I don't just have the podcast interviews on there. Sometimes I will do unboxing. Sometimes I'll do vlogs. All of those things are on my YouTube, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay. Some are good, some are bad. I keep them all up there just kind of like, just to humble me a little bit. I'm not saying that I started out there and I'm here now, but I've definitely elevated my podcast since. And I've made this channel about the podcast mainly. So, if you've been with me, cool. If you haven't, cool. Welcome to the page. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell. That way, anytime we go live or I upload anything, you're going to know. Okay, now that that's all, and also follow me on Instagram. It's the Graybeard Podcast on Instagram. I also have a photography page. For those that are new, I am a photographer, and I'm not working currently. I've kind of taken some time off from that, and I've focused more heavily on this. To be honest with you, this is more fun. There's no pressure. I don't get paid. I don't have sponsorships. I don't have anything to worry about. I don't have to worry about bridezillas. I don't have to worry about time constraints. I don't have anything to worry about. This is literally the best. So, don't know what I'm going to talk about tonight, but now that that's all out of the way, the introductions and the thank yous and all that good stuff, I'm going to move into kind of random thoughts, just whatever pops into the old brain pan of mine. I will tell you, I'll start off by saying, I don't really, not even really, I don't watch a lot of news. I don't keep up with things. Unfortunately, occasionally I will brain rot on the weekends with TikTok. And luckily, my algorithm has kept me out of the loop with politics and things of that nature. Now, I'm not completely dumb to what's going on, but this is not a political show. That's not what this platform is for. However, I invite guests on, and sometimes I don't know them, and I never know what we're going to talk about. We don't script any of this stuff, so it's not pre-planned at all. So it could be one of those things where somebody wants to come on and use the platform to talk about their politics. I don't know. I try my hardest to stay out of that mess. I have my own opinions about things, and in the past I've voiced my opinions before, and it made me feel a certain kind of way. And I said to myself, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's nobody's business how I feel about this or that, where I land politically. I just don't think anyone needs to know. I think this is my opinion. I think too many people are taking advantage of our freedom of speech, which is great. I love it. I love the fact that they can do that. But there's a lot of people that are using the freedom of speech to complain about freedom of speech. So there's a lot of hypocritical shit going around in the world, and it's just like, from what I can tell, from what I can see, the little bit of news that I do see and read, and when I do see something that's very damning or, upsetting to me, I will look into it deeper. I don't just take it on face value. I don't read the headline and go, oh my God, that's what's happening in the world. I like to research things. I like to get a little deeper into what the hell's going on. Because, if I'm going to talk about something, I'd like to be educated about it. And that's also another reason why I don't talk about politics, is because I'm not educated about it. So I know that everybody hates Trump, and then, on the left, everyone hates Trump. On the right, they love him. I don't like him. I don't hate him. There's things that I don't like that he does. But again, like I said, I'm kind of one of these people that are politically unhoused, if you will. I'm politically agnostic. I'm a political atheist, if you will. So I try not to ever talk about that stuff, or keep it to a minimum. My producer, he's very into it. He does love those types of things. And, I'm not going to be one to tell. Like I said, if he wants to talk about it, I'm game. Talk about it. I'll listen, because maybe I'll learn something. And that's always just been my take, is I try to listen to everyone's perspective and everyone's point of view. And if they have good, solid, points and facts and evidence, maybe they can, educate me a little bit about things. So that's just kind of how I deal with that. But no, I try to keep this an entertainment only type of show. I don't really jive with people using their platform as a sounding board. I know, they have the right to do that, but like I said, that's just my opinion. I don't think that they should be doing that. Especially, and I'm not talking about anything in particular. It's not one incident in particular, although I know that there is something going on right now with, like, Billie Eilish. She said some dumb shit at the Grammys, which made everyone feel all warm and fuzzy at the time. And, I understand where she was going with that. But I just think that the people that are sitting in that room, I don't know if they have room to talk, because they're the ones that are, like, saying, they want equity. They want people to be, they basically want socialism, is what I'm understanding about these actors and actresses and musical artists and whatnot. And what I've learned, even in high school, is that's not very good. It doesn't work out very well. And then, you get the argument that, well, it hasn't worked out yet. Well, no, it hasn't. But this has worked for, 200 and something years, 260 years. It's been pretty good. And those people that are saying the things that they're saying are able to say them because they're here. So it's like, come on, man. Let's not do that. We all know the past, the history, and we weren't there. We've only know about it because of what they taught us in history books and in school. That's what, and maybe college, if you've gone into that, if you're a history major or what have you. But the majority, the everyday average person didn't really delve into history, and I mean that's just me assuming that. I could be completely wrong. So, if I am, feel free to let me know in the comments. But I for sure didn't. I remember a little bit here and there, and I watched a lot of documentaries. And again, even with the documentaries, there's a lot of documentaries that are like you could have two that are on the same topic but have completely different outlooks and views. So it's just like, which one's real? Which one's the right one? There's too much stuff out there for us to. You have to kind of pick and choose what truth you're going to stick with. And that's a slippery slope. In my brain, it's a slippery slope. It would be cool if we knew 100%, without a doubt, shadow of a doubt, unequivocally, that this is the truth right here. This other stuff is false information or misinformation, if that's what they, like to label it as. But it would be awesome if that's the way it was, if we knew for a fact. But none of us were there. All we have to go on is history books. And they can be very good. They can be very good. But my issue is that some of that stuff could also be altered. Just like people with religion. And, I don't want to get into that either. But the Bible has been, it was translated and passed down and translated. And then, from person to person and language to language. And I feel like, there's been a lot of room. I'm not saying that there is, but there's been a lot of room for fuckery with the Bible. So it's like people that read that and they worship that word, like I just would be giving a word of caution, like I'm not saying it's not good. I love the fact that you believe in something. I love that for you. I think everybody needs that. I think everybody needs something to believe in. Without that, we really don't, we lose, in my opinion. I believe that when we don't have something to believe in or something to love, something to hold on to, something to live for, what have you, we lose the plot. We kind of like, not lose the will to live, because damn, that's harsh, but we just lose direction. And I think that it's important to have a direction and a goal. And I think that I applaud those people that that like religion, whatever it may be, except for I'm gonna say not the ones that I am saying exceptions to, but even the ones that I'm gonna say exceptions to, there's good people in that religion. And I'm not gonna get into that, but what we see in our media is the not so good ones that follow that particular religion. But there's bad people in every faction, every realm, every faction, whatever you want to call it, every social gathering. You could have a bunch of people that all believe the same thing. Let's say you have 100 people in a room that all believe in the same thing, but one of them is going to be a major asshole. And they're really, that's in every walk of life. So that's a hard thing to talk about, is like good people, bad people, good religion, bad religion. If it makes you happy and it gives you direction in your life and a path to walk down, I think it can't be that bad. If it gives you morals and rules to live by, there are some commandments or things that I hear from some of these things that like give me pause, and I don't like that, and some people here would like that to be our number one thing, and I'm like, you really need to think that through. That's all I'm saying. Let's all take a pause. Let's all take a breath, and let's stop and think about what we're talking about. And I'm being very vague, and I did that on purpose because I don't want to get I just don't want to get too far in depth. I think a good canceling might do me good. I'm not worried about getting canceled. I've got, I think, 255 followers or subscribers on this channel, so it's not like I'm going to be missed terribly. I have some good friends that do follow me and subscribe, and they enjoy it, and all of that good stuff, and I appreciate them. But it's not like I got tens of millions of subscribers that are going to go, oh my God, where did he go? And it's not going to be like a weird thing that happened. This guy popped up and then he's gone now. Hang on a sec. I don't know why I hid from the camera. I could have just did this. But yeah. Okay, so that's all I want to say about that is just in this time, in this day and age where it seems to me that our government, if you will, really, I feel like they want to disparage us. They want us kind of at each other's throats. I think other countries do as well. And I think that other countries are probably laughing at us because we're more worried about like stuff that it's not that it doesn't matter, but they're, again, I don't want to get too political on this page, on this podcast, but it's just things I'm thinking about. Again, this is just word salad, word vomit. Well, not word salad. I'm actually being coherent, unlike somebody we know. It's good tea. Good ham. Good soup. I am tracking my girlfriend right now. She's out grocery shopping. And no, I don't go with her. I know some people might go, oh my God, you don't go with her? No, I think I make her, give her a little anxiety when I go with her. I aggravate when I go with her. When she gets home, I do unload as much as possible. Like I try to unload like 90% of the groceries so that she doesn't have to because she's done all the work. So she enjoys that. It's her time alone. And I think she's like, she's got a friend out there with her right now that met her at Sam's and they're shopping. So, yeah. So I'm tracking her right now just to make sure I'm there for her when she gets home, which I got a little while. So, okay. What is the topic of discussion next? Oh, I wasn't done talking about that one thing. I just wanted to just say, hey, in a world that wants to see us fail, okay, and I mean us as people, as a country, as a nation, whatever, a lot of people in the world want to see us fail. I say we all try to be a little nicer to each other. If nothing else, like even if you hate the person next to you, that's okay. You don't have to like people. Like, you have to understand when I say things like this, these are not like, oh, you have to do, like, I don't expect people to think, I'm telling you, you have to do this. But it's like suggestions. This is my thought. How nice would it be if a person from the left and a person from the right could be like, I don't like you. I don't like who you support. Or I don't like who you don't support, or what have you, whatever it may be, but can sit in a room together and still have a good time, maybe be at a party and still just have a good time. I just remember being a kid, and I see a lot of kids on social media now, and they're speaking their mind. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. That they're getting out there and they're really voicing their opinions. I think that's what's necessary. I think that is very helpful at times, depending how they're doing it. Sometimes when the louder you shout, the less you're heard. Oftentimes, the quietest voices in the room are the ones that are most listened to. But I love the fact that they're learning that they can get out and they can voice their opinion, and it does matter. Their opinions do matter. I encourage it. What I don't encourage is violence. I don't encourage that. I don't encourage violence towards anyone. Okay? I'm not a pacifist. If somebody gets in my face and starts or threatens my child or someone I love, I'm going to fight. No shit. I mean, that's not my first response, but if it comes to blows, I will do my best to hold my own. Put it that way. But I don't know, man. I just feel like, and maybe I'm just hippie Jim, right now. Maybe I've had too many, walkabouts. But I have a different perspective on life than I used to. But I just remember being a kid, and when I say kid, I mean between 16 and 20. Let's just put that age range. In that age range, I never once thought about president. I never once thought. I was worried at 18 that I was going to get drafted into, everything that was going on in the Middle East at that time. I had MPs come to my door. Well, I got through the mail probably 3 different times. I got, and this is probably like a horrible admission. It's in the past. I'm hoping, and I did sign it. So eventually, I did follow the rule of law. But when I would get the draft, they send the draft card through the mail, and as soon as you turn 18 as a man, and you're supposed to sign it and send it back, I would throw it in the trash. I did that like 3 times. And then one day I was working on a car in the garage, and I had a guy, full dress, came right up to the garage, and he knew it was me because he knew my age. And I had my older cousin was with me, and he was not, he didn't look at him. He looked right at me, and he said, "James Mullis?" I said, "Yes, sir." He had the hat and everything, He was with the military police, and he had the same card that I had thrown away 3 times. He had another one, and he said, "I need you to sign this right now." And I was like, "Oh, okay, why?" And he goes, "Well, if you don't, I'm going to take you with me. So if you don't sign it, you go to jail." I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And I didn't really start thinking about anything political even after that, because I'm just a dumb kid. And at that time, I was smoking so much weed. All I cared about was women and weed. That was it. And hanging out with my buds and playing music. Those were the only things I cared about. And, yeah, but I had to sign it. I had to sign it, or he wouldn't leave without me. And that's crazy, because they still do that to this day to men. Yeah, but what my point was during that time, all I thought about was, hanging out with my buds, playing music. I was always writing. I was always, if I had spare time in between band practice, I was practicing on my own. And, and then in the evening time, it would be like, let's get some dinner, go to my friend's house, and we get high, and then we just kind of hang out and bullshit and have like stoner conversations. And I don't know if you've ever been privy to any of those kind of conversations, but they get really deep, man. And it was fun. we got deep about other things. It wasn't like political shit. Like, I don't remember any of my friends ever talking about politics. And now I see kids that are, 18 to 20, and let's just go 18 to 25. We'll open it up. And they're still living at home with mom, haven't ever owned anything, and they're talking about politics. And on one hand, again, I think it's great that, we have this medium, like right here, what you're watching, and everybody has a voice. You can have a voice. You can say things that people either disagree or agree with, and it's up to you whether you give a shit. And I mean, quite frankly, I don't care about what people think about me. I never have. The reason I self-censor is for me. It's not for anyone else, because I try to be a nice person. I try to be a stand-up citizen, if you will. But yeah. I see these kids and they're getting uber political. And the problem that I have is that they're not very well informed. And just like, I'll take it back to what I said, if I'm going to talk about something, I'm going to do research, because I want to be as well informed as I possibly can be. And if I don't do the research and I start talking about something like that and someone says, no, you're wrong, Jim, I'll say, okay, well, explain to me, like, teach me something, educate me. I'm open in that manner. So, like, I just wish that the young people would, instead of going to rage and hatred, would take a pause, take a step back, and say, okay, this person's uninformed. And then let's inform them with facts and, actual evidence of things. And that's just my personal opinion about the way that the world is going right now. People are so fast to jump to hatred and fuck you than they are to just stop and just listen and just go, okay, well, I get your point, and here's where I have a problem with that, because here's some evidence that shows an alternative to what you're saying. And then you guys got to get together and figure out, okay, well, what I'm reading over here is saying this is contrary to what you're reading over here. Let's, as a team, even though we hate each other, even though we don't get along, even though we don't see eye to eye, even though we have completely different views, why don't we, get together and figure out what the truth is? Because I don't know if you guys know, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I was a leader, a manager. I mean, my role was manager, but I tried my hardest every day to be a leader. And there's a difference between a manager and a leader. A manager just manages things. A leader leads people. Okay, they give direction. They understand how to get to root cause problems, the root cause of problems and things of that nature. So one thing that I learned in my travels, and not only just at that job, but I have children. I raised 2 girls, and they would get into these little squabbles and little fights and stuff, and little sibling rivalries, and they would be mad at each other. And it was like my job to figure out who did what and who was at fault, so I could then discipline the faulty person. And if I couldn't figure out who was at fault, then they both get disciplined, because But as a leader, as a parent, someone who has been in that situation, you have a side A and side B, and the truth, they both have completely different stories, but the truth is usually like a culmination of the both of them, an amalgamation of both of them. So that's all I'm trying to say is if we stop fighting amongst each other and we start working with each other on these things, like I really feel like we will come to an understanding. And I think that's where we need to be as people, not just here in America, but like everywhere, man, like everywhere. People need to come together, and there's more of us than there are of them. And what I mean by that, and I'm not like saying, trust me, I know when you say shit like that, people automatically assume I'm like talking about some kind of weird civil war or a coup or something like that. I'm not. I'm not talking about that. But there's a lot more civilians and people that are rational thinkers out here in the world. And you guys are smart, man. There's a lot of smart people out there. Like, exercise those brains, let's do that. That's all I'm saying. If we stop squabbling and pissing and moaning and fighting with each other and realize that we're all being lied to, all of us, they don't care about us. The people in Hollywood, your favorite musical artists, they don't give a fuck about you. Okay? And some do. Some that come from not a lot do. Those people that come from humble beginnings and, were raised humbly or maybe had a really rough life, and didn't have a dime to their name until they came out with a hit song and now they have money, now they're able to live a good life. Those types of people do have a different understanding. However, a lot of those people live in a fantasy fucking world, okay? They pretend that they're other people constantly. Okay? So that's got to do something with your psyche. When you're constantly doing that and you're like, 1 week you're this guy, 1 week you're that guy, it just I imagine it does crazy shit to your brain. On top of the fact that they're loaded, they're rich, they have used capitalism to get to where they want to be. That's the great thing about the United States is that you can be homeless, you can have a really rough and shitty childhood, but you can drag yourself out of the muck if you are an exceptional person, and you do have to be an exceptional person. You've got to be doing something that other people aren't doing, or you got to be doing it better if you're doing something they are doing. But anyone can make something out of themselves. Anyone. And I say that full well knowing that not everyone has the same opportunities as everybody. I get that. There's some people that are completely impoverished. I invited my friend Jay to come on tonight. He is the owner and the creator of the Jay Foundation. I've had him on here twice. I talk about him all the time. He's a good friend of mine. I love him to death. He's like one of the only dudes I can actually say that to. Like I have a few friends in my life that I'll tell, like men, that I'll say, hey man, I love you. He's one of them. And I invited him to come on tonight, but I didn't follow up, so that's on me. I was lazy today. And then I really did want to do a calibration podcast where it's just me. See how it goes, see how it tracks, see how people respond to it, how many views I get. I don't look at any of that shit. Probably should though. But if you go back and watch his first podcast that he was on, he's very open about his life. He had a rough upbringing, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but he had a rough upbringing. And he's doing good now. And not only that, not only is he doing good in his life, I mean, he's healthy, he's fit, he's got his own place, he's got a foundation that he started. He has helped so many young people out here in Jacksonville. Like so many young people. And to say that, and he's like what I look at when people go, well, not everybody has the same starting point. Well, no, they don't. Okay? They don't. Like, he's prime example. He started really not good. He was set up for failure. And, and he dragged himself out of that, and he made a change in his life. And he said, hey, you know what? I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, I want to be the opposite of that, what I was raised with. So to those people that say that it can't be done, or people we don't all start out the same. Of course we don't. We all have different situations. When I was born, I had a mother and a father. When I was old enough to like be cognizant of what was happening, I had a mother, no father. And so that was tough, growing up without a dad. It's tough. There's a lot of that happening right now. There's a lot of dads leaving. I hope that at some point that stops. I hope that at some point that trend stops or slows down, or what have you. I that makes me sad that there's not a lot of dads in the world, because it's tough for a young lady or a young man. Already it's crazy. This world is crazy, especially right now. It's insane. It's only insane when you really get down to it, and you look at the nuts and bolts. I think that it's really only insane because there's so much coverage of it all. When I was coming up as a child, it was either the paper or whatever came on the news. And even back then, okay, you would see something on the news and you would say, is that real? And you'd have to, like, if you wanted to research it, you'd have to look it up. If it was something happening on the other side of the world, there's really no way for you kind of have to take their word. And I feel like in that moment and at that time, that was kind of the last generation where you had to kind of believe the people that were giving you the news, the journalists, that were writing these stories. And I feel like that was an end of an era for journalism. I think that there are still journalists out there that are doing a great job and want to uncover the truth, and they really investigate things. But I also think that there's a lot of people that are just paid off, and they're just a face, a pretty face or a handsome face, and or sometimes an ugly face, whatever. But, they have a good speaking voice or what have you, and the networks just put them up there and say, read the cue cards or the teleprompter. Just read the teleprompter. You have a charismatic voice and a charismatic way of delivering things, so we like you. You can say what we want you to say with gusto. And I think there's a lot of that happening. We saw that during COVID. And it's just it's getting, with the internet and everything now, if you see something on the news, or it doesn't matter what channel, any channel, you can go now and look it up on your phone or laptop or tablet or whatever. We have the internet. We can find things. So you can decide for yourself, is it true or is it not true? And there, again, it's just too much information. I think that it's too much information for one person. That, like, people on an individual basis. Like, I don't think we're set up for that. We all know that there's like what's that number? I can never remember, and I don't have Patrick here to remind me. But there's a number. It's like 150 or something like that. People that you can remember, and once you hit that number, there's only so much bandwidth in your brain. There's only so much space in your brain, storage space, if you will. I don't even know if there's a terabyte, because 150 names or 150 people, that's not a lot of storage space. But I feel like with the small amount of storage space that we do have, I feel like maybe we're taking in too much input and it's driving us crazy. And I feel like I'm not telling people to avoid or ignore what's happening in the world. I really think that, no, I don't want you to do that. You should be informed, But just remember, there ain't a lot of space up there. If you try to put 2 gallons of milk in a gallon container, the thing's gonna explode. Okay, it's just physics, I guess. I don't know what that is. I guess it's physics. I'm not a physics professor, but yeah, it's just the more shit you take in, the more you start getting the depression sets in. Because there is a lot of bad shit that's going on in the world, all over the place. And it will make you depressed if that's all you consume. So, where are we at? Damn, it's only been 43 minutes. Well, I can just prattle on, can't I? So, I guess what I'm getting at is be careful how much information you're taking in on a daily basis. I think that brain rot is not good. I will tell all my friends that are on Instagram and Facebook that do follow me and see, the ones that I follow back and what have you. I don't understand my algorithm. I don't go on Instagram very often. When I do, I scroll for I usually have an ad right away when you open up Instagram. It's an ad. There are more ads on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and X than there ever have been ever. And great. I guess that's how it's free, right? They get paid by ad revenue. So we enjoy a free social media app that we don't have to pay for, and they put ads in our face. So, but it is a bit annoying because I want to see my friends. I want to see the people I follow. Excuse me. I had this weird pesky little once an hour cough. I want to see those people. I want to support my friends. And when I do see you, I try to share your things, and I try to comment or anything that I can do. But my thing is, I don't want to fucking be on it. I just don't. I get that. We talk about and joke about women and men with the ick. Social media gives me the ick. Okay? Straight up, hands down, gives me the motherfucking ick. I don't want to be there. It's not a pleasant place to be. There's so much negativity and, bad shit going on in the world that I don't want to see. Now, I will consume some of it at times. When I see things that look like this is they're giving me the story. They're telling me the facts of what's happening. There's no slant on this. When someone comes out and says, shit that's like their personal feelings, that's when I change the channel or I switch. I don't have cable, so I don't watch the news. I stream, and really the only ever thing that's on my television is fucking Crunchyroll. Excuse me again. That was more than 1 hour. But yeah. So no, I really think that we are spending far too much time on our devices, consuming far too much information that may or may not be accurate, may or may not be true. With the invention and the advent of AI, it is getting harder and harder to discern. We're getting to that, that uncanny valley. We're getting there. I've seen videos that look real, like very real. And it's so hard to figure out whether it's real or not. I mean, you can pay for software. There's software that you have to download and then pay for a service that you could run the video through it, and it'll tell you, okay, this is AI, or this is most likely not AI, what have you. I know that there's some content creators I've seen that do that. I don't have the money for that. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the energy for that. So in that regard, I don't look at it. I don't. If you guys want to, you go right ahead. But I will politely bow out of that conversation. If you want to talk about something cool that's going on, like what's the name of that organization? It's a guy named Bouillon Slot. He started when he was like 16, I think. He created this system. You know, everybody knows that floating trash island out there off the coast somewhere of plastic. It's like a trash island. It's the size of like Texas. Well, he designed and created this device that he deployed eventually when he was like, I think 19. But he brought it to these people in the symposium and all this stuff, you know, like they were trying to figure out a way to help alleviate some of that trash and get rid of some of that. And he created this device, and then it was implemented. The first version of it was implemented, and it did really well. So he kept working on it and making it better and making it better. And then he got more ships out there and more people involved. And now there's like a whole organization. So they're out there trying to clean up the ocean, which is fantastic. I think it's great. You know, that I like hearing about that. There's a guy, I don't know what he's up to now. I haven't heard anything about him. I'd have to look him up. But there's a MMA fighter. His name is Justin Wren, and he started a foundation, something about the forgotten. It's like, he's helping like the pygmies. The people that are, when he got there, I mean, and still to this day, probably, I don't know. Again, I would have to look it up. But, the people in that area, in that region, they didn't look at pygmies as human beings, which is crazy. That's fucking crazy. To look at a person that has eyes, a mouth, that can speak language, that has, hands and human blood, and they're a human. But to look at them and to think that they're not human, that's insane to me, dude. I cannot even fathom. Okay? And maybe that's my white privilege, whatever. That's another thing I ain't gonna get into. That's some crazy shit. But she moved. She's at Walmart now. So I'll probably have another hour before I have to go outside and help her unload. But yeah. And I mean, whatever you say, I've got white privilege, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the people that know me, they understand that, like, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And that's like a little euphemism for, like, I wasn't born rich. We were not rich. It was very much the opposite. And then after my father died, my mom, she busted her ass to take care of the three of us. And we didn't have a lot, but we were happy with the shit we had because we had a lot of love. We had a lot of love in our house, and we were taught ethics and work hard. If you want to get somewhere in life, you do work. I mean, work ethic was like the one thing that was just hammered into my brain. And it's the one thing that I will always carry with me no matter what I do in life. I do my very fucking best. I work my dick into the dirt. No matter what it is. I don't go to work to fuck around. I go to work to work. Again, it didn't matter. To me, once I'm on the clock, I don't care how much money I'm making. I'm going to do a job. I'm there. I'm clocked in. I'm there to work. And that's the one thing that I appreciate about my mom and everyone that helped raise me, and my sisters, my grandparents. They were great. They taught me that. They taught me the value of it. And it's taken me, it took me quite far in life, in my opinion. I have maintained, I've never been rich. I never really had designs to be rich. I've always been fine with, just being average or middle class or even lower middle class, whatever you want to call it. As long as I've got a roof over my head, I can provide for my children. you know what? I'm happy. I don't need much. I don't require a lot. I really don't. Which is why when I see, to kind of circle back around, when I see celebrities talking about, their points of view and the way they feel, I get a little, it gives me the ick again. It really does. It just gives me the ick. It's like I can't take them seriously because they live in a fantasy world. They have millions and millions upon millions of dollars. When you can spend $15 million for a home, like how many people are living in that home, dude? Like how big does it have to be to how big of a place do you have to have for one person? That's insanity. That's insane. Like I look at my little house and I'm like, we have big parties here for my family. Once a month, the third Sunday of every month, we everybody comes together, and Alana cooks, and people bring sides and desserts and things of that nature, and it is a grand old time. And it is not a lot of room in here, but we'll have 30 people in here, inside, outside, in the living room, in the kitchen, in the dining room, everywhere, all over. We pack it in. Could you imagine how much nicer it would be if I had a little bit bigger of a space? Yeah, it'd be cool. But I don't care. I'm happy. I like my little place. And it does, people seem to be fine with it. But it's just like, why do you need all that room? Why? Why do you need all that fucking space? Why do you need a fucking mansion? Even if there's 2 people, why do you need 35 fucking rooms? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I got 25 cars, but I'm going to talk about, pollution and, the ozone layer and climate issues. Like, I'm sorry, what? I'm on a plane. I'm on a private jet 80% of my life. Like, what? You're talking about climate issues? Motherfucker, what? So that's all I'm saying. Is like, come on, man. If you're going to talk, maybe you should have been there. You should talk from where you came from and understand that not everybody's doing as good as you. And not only that, but if you're a self-made millionaire and you get what you want and everybody has equity across the board and they come and take your money and they want to equally distribute your money, the redistribution of wealth, yeah, you're not going to be a millionaire anymore. And you're not going to have that big fucking house anymore. I mean, it's kind of crazy. But I digest. So as much as I said, this is not a political podcast, I think I've done nothing but talk about political shit this whole time without talking about specific political shit. I'm pretty good. I feel like I'm good that way. But yeah, so if you are new here and you're just this is the first podcast you land on, I urge you to go watch the rest of my interviews and then give us a subscribe if you want to, share it if you like. I'm humble that way. I appreciate everything. If you want to make clips out of it, I urge you to do that. Please go right ahead. I think I have it turned on where you should be able to download it. I want people to make clips out of my show. I want people to share it. I want people to see the guests that I have, what they're doing. Is it very local? Of course it is. But there are, gosh, I don't even know. There's over a couple of million people in just in Jacksonville. So, there's a lot of people out there that could see these people. I've had food truck vendors. I've had actresses. I've had models. I've had lawn care people. I've had you name it. I've had them on here. Comedians. Clothing designers, eyewear designers. I don't know. Photographers, videographers. I've had everybody on here. And I'm open to that. I like the fact that I have people from all walks of life, authors. I've had an author on here. I've got her book sitting right over there. I like that. I like meeting people. I think it's fucking up my algorithm a little bit. But I really, honestly, I don't care, you know. But if anybody is curious, if you are curious, this podcast is, you know, sometimes I'll do these little calibration podcasts where it's just me. Sometimes it'll just be me and Pat. Sometimes I'll have a guest. Most of the time I try to have a guest. Whether that guest is someone new that I don't know, or it could be an old friend, you know, that we just sit down and bullshit. And there's really no agenda. And I don't have an agenda anyways, other than if I have a new guest, if I have you know, someone that has a cool business, or someone that's doing something really that I find interesting, I just want to talk to them about it. It's less of an interview show and more of a conversation show. And I don't know. I like talking to people, and I like to podcast. I like to live stream. So that is what I do. That's what this is all about. So with that being said, we're about to crack an hour, and I told myself I was only going to go for an hour. So if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you disagree with anything I said, or if you agree with anything I said, I would urge you to leave it in the comments, and I may or may not see it. I can't promise you that I will, but I'll do my best. But at least you'll have your voice out there, which is one of the best things about this country, is that you can say anything you want. Whether it's right or wrong, you have the right to do that. So with that being said, don't forget, go follow me on the Graybeard Podcast on Instagram. You can follow Graybeard Photo Co. on Instagram. That's my photography page. TikTok, I believe, is Graybeard Productions. You can go there and follow me there. I post random shit sometimes. It's, you know, sometimes it's just clips. Sometimes I do like little motorcycle videos and stuff, whatever. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Hey, I love you, and I appreciate you, and I wish you all the best in life. So with that being said, ladies and gents and everyone in between, I'm out of here.